My question is, how can I process my feelings about my partner's reaction after one particular significant life event?
Wow, I can't wait to hear this one. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so we live nearby. We traveled nearby to a festival, and this happened about a month ago. And there was a shooting, unfortunately.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
I think it's important to note, too, we had a couple of our best friends from Illinois down, and they have 2 kids. So the shooting was particularly sensitive because, of course, we're worried about our own lives, but the lives of the children, because they definitely don't deserve it, right? So after the event, during the shooting, our reaction, everyone's reaction, except for his reaction, was to run in the opposite direction, very similar to how everyone else appeared to react as well. When we got to a place of kind of calming down, we're no longer running, we're at a place where we feel like we're removed from the shooting or the shooter. He casually walks up to us and has a little bit of a grin on his face. And he was really calm about the situation, which made me very uncomfortable, made me upset. And it was not, he felt as if it was a joke, like it was some kids goofing off and just trying to cause a scene. Whereas our reaction is, if it's a joke or not, let's get out of here. And that is what it seemed to be everyone's reaction. Yeah. So I tried to reason with him, and I can't tell if I'm being unreasonable or if my gut feeling about this whole situation is accurate.
Yeah. I don't think it's an either-or situation. I have been in enough wild situations that I have just made peace. I don't judge people's initial reactions to terrible events. Everybody reacts differently. And I have acted very foolishly running into situations that I had no business doing that. And that's just, and it makes for good theater. It is terrible in real life. And I have seen people think the whole thing's a joke and start laughing. I've seen people curl up in a ball and start screaming. I've seen everybody run. I've seen people all of a sudden grab a stapler and a brick and run. I mean, everybody does something different. And so I don't judge anybody's instant reaction. The only people's instant reaction I judged are those who have trained and trained and trained for specific events. But when it comes to average people who duck or who run or who laugh, I don't hold judgment there because everybody's body reacts differently in those situations.
Okay.
On the back end, though, y'all are at home. It's 2 weeks later. It's 3 weeks later. If y'all sit down, and did you find out it was a real shooting or not a real shooting?
It was a real shooting.
Okay.
Some folks passed away.
Okay. So have y'all circled back up now that the smoke is cleared and sat down and said, hey, let's talk about that?
Yes, we have.
How is that going?
He still feels the same way that we reacted. He felt like we were dramatic, where we just wanted to treat it the same as 99% of everyone who was running. Treat it seriously, whether or not it's a joke or not in today's world.
No, I don't mess around with that at all anymore. Yeah, not even a little bit.
Can I share something else too, Dr. John?
Share anything, of course.
I feel like I have felt in the past that he shows cowardly behavior in some situations, like with his family, like he's non-confrontational. And I think that is also stemming from how I'm feeling about this particular situation. There have been times
you've watched him and be cowardly in day-to-day interactions, and now all of a sudden he's mocking you because of how you protected yourself.
Correct.
Oh gosh, yeah. Are you married to this person?
No, engaged for 5 years. We've been together for 8.
What's the holdup, yo?
We both say, well, we can do it tomorrow if we want to, but I guess neither one of us has made it a priority.
Yeah, I would ask your nervous system about that.
Yeah.
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 Because sometimes our bodies know. Here's the thing. I don't have any use for, I always have use for people. I don't have any use for people who belittle other people during scary moments. That's honestly one of the reasons why I hate civilian tape review of situations, people running out of a building or that kind of like. I don't like that because it's just not fair.
Yeah.
And your instinct was right, was to run. His instinct was silly and foolish. It could have got him killed. And instead of acknowledging that, and so for him to not be able to say in a similar fashion, dude, I just thought it was a joke, man. Thank God we're all right. Yeah, y'all got out of there. Good for you. But to turn and mock you guys, it's just very immature.
Yeah, and that's how I felt. Like,
but hold on, listen. He's not just immature about this. He's immature about a lot of stuff, isn't he?
Yes.
Give me an example.
When we go to, or earlier on in our relationship, when we would go to family gatherings, a family member might say something a little bit sideways. And I'm not one to cause a scene. I would never do that. I feel like that doesn't achieve anything. So my reaction is to talk to him after the fact. And he has said everything in order to avoid going to that family member to say, hey, you can't talk to her that way, or you shouldn't say that, or whatever it might be. One thing that he said was, I was drunk, I didn't hear it. Or the next time was, or she didn't mean it that way, or like it's at the expense of how I feel.
That's right. It's called gaslighting.
Is how I feel. Yeah.
Your feelings are always wrong. There's always an explanation for your feelings. But when he has feelings, they're right. And if you disagree with him, you're wrong for feeling that his feelings aren't right. It's a very immature way of go through the world. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to consider that this is a very revealing situation, a straw that breaks the camel's back. And I'm not saying your relationship's over, but I'm saying it's time to set some things on the table, because here's what's happening. I can feel it. It's festering inside of you. And you are sweet, Alyssa. You don't want to fight. You like doing the next right thing. I could get married tomorrow if I wanted to. I'm gonna watch the new season of Dexter and just call it and go to the next thing. You can just make your way through the life. But what's happening inside of you is that your inside is starting to catch fire. And before you burn up, because that's what's going to happen, your secrets will kill you, not him. I think there's a truth telling. There is hey, for 5 years we've been engaged. And you don't honor my feelings. You don't honor my fears. When I get scared, you make fun of me. When you get scared, you're like, I was drunk. I didn't even pay attention. There's just a general sense of immaturity, or a general sense of his world is all about him and feeling powerful and strong. And if he can't feel powerful and strong, he dismisses you. And that's just not a partnership. That's not two people creating something amazing together moving forward. And anytime somebody tells me like, we've been engaged for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, we just haven't got around to it, there's almost always a reason we haven't got around to it. There's not a reason we've done it. There's a reason we haven't done it. And I think that's worth exploring. In your own heart, maybe go sit with a therapist and talk about it, or sit down with him and say, hey, we need to just talk. You thought it was a joke and you were just walking around thinking kids were goofing off. Fine. I'm not going to judge you on that. But people got killed. It was scary. It scared me to death. And the fact that you care less about how scared your fiance was and more about mocking me and being like, oh my gosh, that wasn't even that big. It tells a lot. It tells me a lot about your character. And I think that's what's gnawing at your insides, Alyssa. I may be wrong, but I think that's what's gnawing at your insides. And I think that is worthy of exploring.